What if the most dangerous weapon isn't a gun, but obedience? White light floods a gray room. Electrodes glint like tiny teeth. A clipboard trembles. The man in the white coat smiles. You hear a faint hum, smell metal and ozone, and realize this isn't fiction. It happened, again and again, in real laboratories built to test the limits of humanity. These are the 10 darkest psychology experiments, where curiosity turned into cruelty, and ordinary people proved how fragile free will truly is.
Number 10. The Yale Invitation. In 1961, letters went out across New Haven. Participate in a study of memory and learning. Volunteers arrived at Yale's basement lab, a room tiled white, smelling of dust and wires. They were greeted politely, seated beside another participant, and handed a list of word pairs. When the other man made a mistake, they were told to deliver an electric shock. The first click was mild, a buzz and a laugh. Then another click, louder, sharper. Every sound etched guilt into their nerves. Hidden behind the mirror, the real experiment observed not the learner, but the teacher's conscience. Each flick of the switch whispered the same question. How far will you go if someone in authority says it's okay?
Number 9. The command to continue. The man in the white coat spoke without emotion. The experiment requires that you continue. No threat, no anger, just tone. Yet it carried more force than any weapon. Participants begged, "He's screaming in pain!" The voice replied, "Please, continue." And they did. Every repetition eroded their boundaries. One woman later said it felt like watching someone else's hands move. In modern offices, soldiers' barracks, even social media chains, the same phrase echoes: procedure over conscience. Authority doesn't shout, it calmly insists. And that calmness kills empathy faster than rage ever could.
Number 8. The illusion of responsibility. The teacher pressed a switch labeled 450 volts. Danger, severe shock. When screams ceased, relief replaced horror. They convinced themselves, he must be fine. Someone would stop me if it were real. That self-comfort is ancient. From soldiers obeying generals to employees signing unethical orders. Humans survive by delegation. Pain outsourced, guilt outsourced, thinking outsourced. Milgram's genius wasn't cruelty, it was reflection. He held up a mirror to our favorite illusion, that we're not to blame when following orders. But mirrors never lie.
Number 7. The 450-volt silence. At the final switch, the room turned silent. The learner, an actor, made no sound. The participant looked at the scientist. The scientist nodded once. Click. A flash of red on the panel. 65% obeyed until the end. When interviewed, many wiped tears and said, "I didn't want to hurt him." Yet they did. Because the white coat symbolized science, and science symbolized truth. When truth wears a uniform, defiance feels like sin. Milgram later wrote, "Obedience is the psychological cement that binds men to systems of authority. Cement that still hardens in labs, armies, and corporations alike."
Number 6. When ordinary becomes dangerous. They weren't monsters. They were neighbors, teachers, parents. Each came in believing they were helping knowledge. That's what makes this experiment terrifying. Evil didn't disguise itself. It looked ordinary. Milgram analyzed the tapes frame by frame. No sadism, no laughter, just nervous smiles and obedience. He realized the potential for atrocity lives not in psychopaths, but in systems that make obedience a virtue. Every dictatorship begins with polite people who don't want to cause trouble. Every unethical order survives on silence from those who know better. Control, not chaos, creates the worst damage because it looks rational while it destroys compassion.
Number 5. The chain of command. Orders descend, guilt ascends. Each level blames the one above. This ladder of morality built concentration camps, financial collapses, and algorithmic cruelty. Milgram's findings were cited by soldiers at Nuremberg. The same defense repeated. I was just following orders. But responsibility isn't vertical, it's circular. Every act of obedience spins the wheel once more. Somewhere, someone always pays, the victim who had no choice. When power flows downward unchecked, empathy evaporates upward unnoticed.
Number 4. The crowd inside you. Milgram's students later explored group obedience. They found even alone, people felt pressure, the imagined audience inside their minds. Social conformity doesn't need a crowd, it lives rent-free in memory. Think of the online mob, anonymous, self-righteous, demanding compliance. Every like, share, or silence becomes a microshock delivered to someone unseen. The crowd outside eventually becomes the crowd inside. And once that voice settles in, you don't need orders anymore. You become your own authority, your own warden.
Number 3. The disobedient few. Not everyone obeyed. A minority refused to continue, hands shaking, voices cracking. They stood up, removed their headsets, and said, "I won't." Milgram called them heroes of conscience. Their faces showed terror, yet clarity, proof that defiance and fear can coexist. He saw in them the seed of hope for society, that even under control, the human spirit can still choose. Today we see their descendants in whistleblowers, protesters, and anyone who says no when comfort demands silence. Courage isn't born from confidence. It erupts from discomfort. When one person disobeys, it doesn't end the system, but it cracks it. And through that crack, light enters.
Number 2. After the switch. Weeks later, participants couldn't sleep. Some called the lab begging to know if the learner was alive. Their lives continued, but their dreams did not. The experiment had ended on paper, but its echo continued in their minds. Psychologists call it moral injury, the wound you get when your actions contradict your values. No therapy erases it. You only learn to carry it quietly. When Milgram analyzed post-interviews, he saw the same patterns seen in soldiers, corporate scandals, even AI developers today. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Intent doesn't erase impact. Every obedient action etches a mark on the soul of the one who obeys.
Number 1. Obedience without chains. Milgram proved that control needs no chains. It only needs structure, language, and trust. A clean room, a polite voice, a clipboard. And humans will commit acts they once swore impossible. That truth didn't die in the 1960s. It migrated into modern life. Terms of service we don't read, orders we don't question, systems we believe are too complex to challenge. We call it progress. But behind every click and command lies the same experiment, testing how far we'll go when authority smiles and says, "Please continue." The worst control is not force. It's the one that makes you feel free while obeying.
The ticking clock returns. Its cracks spread across the screen like veins. A red door stands ajar, light pouring through. You hear a whisper. Experiment completed.
But did it ever end? Every time you follow rules you know are wrong, the experiment restarts. Every time you choose silence over truth, you sign the consent form again. Control doesn't need chains, it needs participants. The question is simple. Are you still one of them?